We all watched in agonizing suspense as the hospital doors swung closed, taking both Catherine Cat Richardson and Eva Thomas into the operating room for a liver transplant that would change their lives forever. But what happens when the ultimate sacrifice goes horrifyingly wrong? Next week, we are going to witness a joyous miracle instantly morph into a living nightmare. Eva Thomas is going to open her eyes. She is going to wake up, breathe on her own, and step back from the brink of death. But the collective sigh of relief from the waiting room will be violently cut short. Why? Because Cat Richardson is not waking up. That is right, fans. The terrifying reality of living donor transplants is about to hit this family like a freight train. The recovery process for the healthy donor is often far more dangerous and grueling than for the recipient. Kat's absolute worst fears, the very fears she was ridiculed for having, are coming true right before our eyes. The machines will beep, the doctors will scramble, and Kat will remain trapped in a terrifying state of unconsciousness. Did Kat just trade her own life to save the sister who despised her? This soul-crushing twist is going to send shockwaves of guilt throughout the entire hospital, starting with the man who should have protected her, Ted Richardson. Oh, Ted, what have you done? We all watched with tears in our eyes when Ted cornered a terrified, fleeing Kat in that hospital stairwell. He knew she was petrified. He knew she felt like nothing more than a spare part for a family that constantly overlooked her. Yet, he used his ultimate fatherly leverage, begging his daughter to suppress her trauma and lay down her life. Do you remember Kat's haunting final words before she went under the knife? I'm doing this for you, Dad, because I love you. How does a father survive the psychological torment of knowing he practically pushed his miracle child onto the sacrificial altar? Ted is going to be drowning in a sea of his own making, his heart shattering every time he looks at Kat's lifeless body. Will this insurmountable guilt completely destroy his fragile new romance with Shanice, or will it break Ted's spirit beyond repair? But Ted is not the only one who will be forced to look in the mirror. The Dupri women, Nicole, Chelsea, and Anita, are about to face a devastating emotional reckoning of their own. They always prided themselves on putting Kat's emotional well-being first. They held her hand, validated her trauma, and promised her that the choice was entirely hers. Nicole literally walked Kat into that hospital, convincing her that simply taking the DNA compatibility test would empower her, hoping that Kat wouldn't have to live with the lifelong regret of letting Eva die. But now, the script has been violently flipped. It is Nicole, Chelsea, and Anita who must live with the suffocating regret of encouraging Kat to step into that hospital. Nicole is going to be sitting vigil by her daughter's bedside, consumed by the horrifying thought that her maternal advice might have just signed Kat's death warrant. Can a mother's heart withstand that kind of paralyzing self-blame? And then there is Martin Richardson. Let's talk about Martin, shall we? You may have just won your highly coveted congressional primary, Martin, but your political victory is about to taste like absolute ash in your mouth. While Kat was hyperventilating, struggling with the monumental weight of giving a piece of her body to a woman who slept with her boyfriend and made her life a living hell, what did Martin do? He stood there, recovering from a mild concussion, and viciously berated his terrified sister. He maliciously called her Princess Cat. He labeled her selfish. He completely invalidated her very real, very justified fears of the surgical table. Now, as Martin watches his sister fight for her last breath, those cruel, venomous words are going to echo in his mind on a relentless, agonizing loop. Martin's harsh judgment is going to transform into a suffocating blanket of remorse. How will Martin ever look at himself in the mirror knowing that his final conscious interaction with his sister was to tear her down in her most vulnerable moment? Will this guilt cause the newly elected congressman to completely unravel? We also absolutely cannot forget Isaiah Hawthorne in this web of misplaced righteousness. Yes, we understand that he was desperate to save the woman he loves, but the aggressive, borderline cruel way he cornered Kat was hard to watch. He had the audacity to call her misrighteous and demanded she show compassion, completely ignoring the massive emotional scars Eva had inflicted on Kat over the years. Isaiah's moral high ground has now completely crumbled into dust. He gets to hold Ava's warm hand, he gets his future back, but he has to walk past Kat's comatose body to do it. The realization that his relentless pressure helped push Kat into a coma is going to hit Isaiah like a ton of bricks. Will he finally realize that his love for Eva made him a monster to Kat? Now, let us shift gears to the woman waking up on the other side of the glass. Imagine the sheer earth-shattering magnitude of the moment Eva Thomas fully grasps what has happened. The sister she despised, the sister who owed her absolutely nothing, gave her the ultimate gift of life and might die because of it. Eva is going to be wrecked with a profound, overwhelming gratitude that will fundamentally change who she is as a character. But more importantly, Eva is the only person who holds the key to clearing Kat's name. Ever since the tornado, Leslie Thomas has been acting like a deranged banshee, practically accusing Kat of leaving her daughter to die in that dark, bloody stairwell. Leslie has been spewing pure hatred, blaming Kat for Eva's critical condition. But Eva knows the truth. We are going to witness a highly emotional, tear-jerking scene where recovering Eva finally tells her mother exactly what happened during the storm. She is going to tell Leslie how Kat stayed by her side, how Kat held her, and how Kat was covered in her blood, desperately trying to keep her alive. When Leslie hears this truth, when she realizes that the girl she has abused, insulted, and blamed is not only a hero, but a martyr fighting for her life, how will Leslie react? Will the icy, impenetrable facade of Leslie Thomas finally shatter into a million pieces of agonizing remorse? And of course, because this is beyond the gates, we know that a medical crisis of this catastrophic magnitude never ever comes without a massive, explosive secret bubbling to the surface. While Kat is lying there, unresponsive, the doctors are running endless tests. Blood panels, genetic markers, tissue samples. We have all been speculating for months about the ultimate soap opera twist, and this tragic coma feels like the exact catalyst needed to ignite the bomb. As the family waits in agony, poring over medical charts and donor compatibility reports, could this be the moment a glaring DNA discrepancy is discovered? Just imagine the chaotic, poetic justice of it all. What if the blood work reveals that Kat is actually Leslie's biological daughter, switched at birth? Imagine Leslie screaming at Kat, blaming her, hating her, only to discover that the girl lying in a coma, the girl who just sacrificed herself for Eva, is her actual flesh and blood. The dramatic irony would be absolutely off the charts. Every single teardrop, every single scream, and every single prayer in that waiting room is setting the stage for a revelation that will rewrite the entire history of the Dupri, Richardson, and Thomas families. Are we about to witness the biggest, most devastating maternity explosion in Fairmont Crest history? As we look toward the next batch of episodes, one thing is absolutely certain: the emotional fallout is going to be a bloodbath. The waiting room is going to transform into a war zone of tears, screaming matches, and devastating realizations. No one is safe from the collateral damage of Kat's ultimate sacrifice. The people who hurt her most are going to be forced to sit in the uncomfortable silence of her hospital room and beg for her forgiveness. But the ultimate question remains, hanging in the air like a dark cloud over the entire town. Will Kat Richardson ever wake up to hear their apologies? Or is this the tragic, heartbreaking end of her story?